Hello, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get started in about 2 minutes just to allow people to log on and get ready. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started at about 12:02. Hello, Cheryl. We're about to get started in about a minute. Just want to let everybody log in. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm sure people will trickle in as we're going through the slides, but welcome everyone to our workshop for the capacity building application, which is a part of our general operating support program. I'm Kayla Williams. I'm a grant manager here at CAH, and I manage the capacity building program. So if anybody has questions while they're filling out their application, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll provide my email in the chat later on. If anybody has any questions at the top of their mind, please feel free to put those in the chat now. I do have Carrie Kaliba here with me, who also works for the commission, and she can help answer your questions in the chat just because I can't see them while I'm presenting. But if anybody already has a question about the application, please feel free to put that in the chat now. And also, as we're going through, feel free to put anything in the chat, and there'll also be other times where I'll stop and you can ask questions on the mic as well. So today we're just going to go over the GOS program, its eligibility requirements, and then we're going to get into what is needed in the application, how your application is going to be scored by panelists. We'll look at what the narrative questions are, some of the required documents, how to upload your work samples, and then we'll also have time for questions at the end. All the information today that we're going over is in the request for application. So if you miss anything, you can go to our website and find all of this information as well on there if you need to go back and reference anything while you're filling out the application. So we are on a new grant platform this year. If this is your first time applying, it's not new for you this year, but we are switching over to Submittable, as you may have noticed. If you have any specific questions about Submittable, we are having one last workshop, just going over how to navigate the new system. And that will be on Thursday, April 23rd from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. But of course, if you have any questions or have technical difficulties while you're going through the application, feel free to reach out to anybody at CAH and we can help you with that. We also offer virtual live chats, which are kind of like the workshops, but a little bit more informal. There's not a presentation. You can just get on, ask a quick question or two, and multiple CAH staff members will be there. So if you also have questions about other programming that's going to open up later this summer, feel free to attend one of these live chats and ask about those programs as well. But our next one is this Friday, and then we'll have one more before the application closes on May 1st. And all the links for these other workshops are on the same webpage that you signed up for this workshop. So our Eventbrite has all of our other workshop links as well. So just a quick overview of the program. So the General Operating Support Program exists to provide operating support funds to nonprofit arts and humanities and arts organizations in the district. And we want to ensure that DC residents have the opportunity to be engaged in a diverse array of accessible arts, humanities, and arts education programming and services. We also want to enhance the capacity of arts and humanities organizations, and also strengthen our arts and humanities community. One thing to know about this program is that it isn't project-based. The operating support is for anything that you may need to use for the operating costs of your organization. So you could use it for staff, you could use it for your rent or utilities for your building. We'll get into more of the allowable costs later on, but if you do just have a specific project or program in mind you're looking for funding for, we do have other project-specific grant opportunities as well. So we do have multiple other categories for GOS. The capacity building category is for first-time awardees or applicants for CAH. So if you've never been awarded a grant before by CAH, you're going to want to apply for capacity building. After this year, if you receive capacity building, you'll be eligible to apply for our generalist category or our service organizations. Um, if you've received a competitive grant from CH, so again, if you would know if you were not eligible for capacity building because you would have received projects, events, and festivals, or our arts and humanities education program. We also have the field trip experiences and East Arts. If you've received any of those, you would need to apply for the different categories. So we'll go into a little bit of the eligibility requirements for the program. The first one is that your organization must be a 501c3 nonprofit for at least 1 year during the grant period. Um, so if you got your 501c3 status last August, you're still eligible to apply because this year it would be your 1 year before the grant period begins in October. You'll also be submitting your IRS letter of determination, which we'll look at and review to make sure that you meet the requirement that you'll be at least 1 year during the grant period. You also need to make sure your organization is registered to do business in the district. And the primary mission of your organization needs to focus on one or more of the arts and humanities disciplines. These disciplines are listed in our request for applications. I would go over all of them, but it's a long list. So please look at those just to make sure that your mission aligns with those disciplines. You'll be submitting an IRS Form 990. A lot of people for our capacity building grant submit the 990 postcard. If you are submitting a 990 postcard, you'll need to submit bank statements from your most recent fiscal year. And we just do this to ensure to make sure that you meet the requirement that at least 51% of your organization's cash expenses has went to arts and humanities programming, and that most of your activities occur within the district. This doesn't apply for capacity building, but you would have had to receive a competitive grant from CAH to apply to the other GOS categories. Again, you want to ensure that at least 51% of your organization's activities occur within DC. Ensure that 100% of the grant award dollars are going to be used to support DC personnel and programming. Have devoted at least 51% of the organization's previous year's cash expenses to arts and humanities programming. And you must also have an active board of directors. If you're registered to do business in DC, you'll have interacted with one of these offices as well. So just make sure that you're up to date with all information with these other offices that ensure that you can do business in DC and also pay your employees and that you have your IRS tax exempt status. You're also going to need a certificate of clean hands. This can be kind of tricky. If you do not have your certificate of clean hands yet, please do that as soon as possible. If your certificate of clean hands is non-compliant, so you'll know that. We'll talk about that a bit later, but if you know that your clean hands is non-compliant already, please reach out to me and let me know, and we can talk further about that. But please make sure you submit at least something in the application, whether it be compliant or non-compliant clean hands. Being good standing with CH, this doesn't necessarily apply to capacity building, but you would need to make sure that you've submitted all reports for previous grants as well. Your principal business address also must be located in DC. So we don't accept PO boxes. And if you're using an address for one of your board members, please let me know about that as well. We know that there's some nuances with each organization. But we also ask for you to not use addresses of volunteers as your principal business address either. Your principal business address should also match across all of your documents. So whatever is on your certificate of clean hands should also be on your W-9, should also be on your application. So just make sure that your addresses match across everything for the grant. So some allowable costs for this grant program are staff salaries. You can also use it to pay for teaching artists or consultants. You can use it for travel and transportation if it's related to your arts and humanities programming. Materials, supplies, and equipment of also related to your arts and humanities programming. Overhead maintenance and administration. Indirect costs, and we also have an option for operating reserve. That more information on that is in the request for applications. If you're curious about that, please reach out to me and I can further explain it. In the application, you will be asked to provide at least one capacity building initiative or program that you're going to implement during the grant period. So just think back about what these allowable costs are and what you can use the grant to cover for that. Some of our unallowable costs, food and beverages, tuition and scholarships, expenses associated with a fiscal agent, costs related to fundraisers, lobbying, and special events, expenses that are not related to your organization's scope of work, funding to universities, governments, DC government agencies, including DCPS, and re-granting. So for the general operating support grant, you are able to apply to a project-based grant on top of GOS. For capacity building, you're able to apply for our projects, events, and festivals. If you're awarded this year and you apply for GOS in the future, you wouldn't be able to have projects, events, and festivals as one of your project grants. But for capacity building, you can apply for one of those. We do ask that you only accept, you'll only be able to accept a project-based grant, one project-based grant on top of your GOS, and one capacity grant, which actually is our capital projects grant that opens later in the year. So your application will be reviewed by a group of panelists. Our panelists are members from the community who have expertise in arts and humanities. For general operating support specifically, we look for panelists who have expertise in nonprofit programming and projects and initiatives. So again, your application is going to be reviewed by those individuals and scored based on our review criteria, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But just keep in mind while you're filling out your application that CAH staff is not going to be looking at your application. It's going to be members from the community. So try and make sure that you write in a way that is universal and that everybody can understand what you might be referring to. We do split our panels based on the budget size for your organization. For capacity building, if most people submit a 990 postcard, we might not do that. But for example, if 40 people apply and there's 10 people who have a budget over 150,000, we're going to panel those in a group all together versus having every single application compared against each other, just because we can understand that um, different budgets mean different levels of capacity. Funding for capacity building is typically flat funding, but for our general GOS program, we do try to meet what your budget size is. But last year we did fund everyone the same amount. And just a reminder that the application does close on May 5th. Make sure that you have all of your documents uploaded, everything's completed in your application. If there's for some reason you need to submit later or you don't have everything together, please reach out to me ahead of time, just so that we know and we don't mark your application as incomplete. If your application is incomplete, you might not be able to move on to the paneling process and ultimately be considered for funding. Any questions so far just about the eligibility or the application requirements? You can also put questions in the chat, and Carrie will be able to answer those. But if you want to come off mute right now, and ask a question, feel free to. All right, we're going to go ahead and get into what the review criteria is for your application. Like I said, your application is going to be reviewed by a group of panelists, and they use this review criteria to score your application on each individual part. You'll notice that this review criteria also reflects the heading sections in your application. So that kind of tells you where the panelists are going to go to look for this information. So it's divided by capacity and sustainability, artistic merit, community access and engagement, and community impact. Your application will be on scored on a 100-point scale, and each of these criteria have different weights to them. So capacity and sustainability will be made up of 40% of your overall score. And panelists will be looking for, does the organization demonstrate through support materials and financial documents the appropriate oversight, financial controls, and governance to deliver its services and programming? Does the organization have the necessary expertise and administrative personnel in place to deliver services and programming? So again, the panelists are going to be looking at the capacity and sustainability portion of your application. They might also look at the resumes of your key personnel, your board, any budget materials that you submit to kind of get a good understanding on these 2 points. For artistic merit is going to be 30% of your overall score. And the panelists are going to be looking to see if your mission and vision are supported by your work samples and support materials. If the organization's programs, projects, or initiatives demonstrate their knowledge and skills in their content area. And does the organization's programs, projects, or initiatives utilize personnel with demonstrated arts, humanities, and/or arts education expertise? Access and engagement will be 10% of your score. So does the organization demonstrate intentionality in ensuring its programming is accessible to diverse communities? And does the organization demonstrate that DC residents are its core audience for its programming and services? And lastly, community impact, which will be 20%. Does the organization include qualitative and quantitative evaluation strategies to determine organizational impact and details changes implemented to ensure continued and future growth? And does the organization demonstrate a commitment to hiring DC residents, arts and humanities professionals to deliver its programming and services? Any questions about the review criteria? You can also just put them in the chat. So I'm also going to go over some of the questions that will, your narrative questions that will be based on those different sections for the review criteria. So one of the first questions that we ask is for you to provide at least one arts and humanities program that will occur during the grant period. So the grant period is going to be October 1st to September 30th of 2027. So October 1st, 2026 through September 2027. And so we're asking for you to provide information on at least one program that you'll have during that period. You can list, I believe, at up to 3 programs if you have more than one. Your capacity and sustainability, that's going to be your financial snapshot. So you're going to provide your 990 or your 990 postcard. And if you just have the postcard, you're going to provide those bank statements. And that really gives the panelists an understanding of where your organization's expenses go for a year. For community access and engagement, so you're going to describe the need for your programming and how it engages DC audiences, and also describe how your programming is accessible. For community impact, you're going to describe your organization's capacity building initiative that's going to take place during the grant period. And you'll also list 2 to 3 outcomes to measure the impact of a capacity building initiative or program that will happen during the grant period. A capacity building initiative could be, we're going to hire a consultant to help us with our website, or we're going to hire 2 interns for this amount of time to help us with our programming, things like that, whatever is going to help you build your capacity after this grant. And then lastly, you're going to have a work samples and upload statement. So you're going to be able to provide just a quick overview of your work samples, why you chose them, and how they best represent your organization's arts and humanities activities. Just some application writing tips. Try to avoid buzzwords and hyperbole. Again, your application is going to be reviewed by people of different backgrounds. So try and write to somebody who may not know anything about what your organization does. So try not to use maybe common terms in your profession that somebody outside of your profession wouldn't be able to understand. If you make claims in your application, try and back those up with support materials and your work samples. One of the biggest things I suggest is asking somebody outside of your organization to review your application. If they have any questions or concerns, you could be able to address that before you submit your application. Try and give a complete picture of your organization and its work to panelists. Use accurate data if it's available. And always look back at the review criteria. So if you ever get stuck while you're writing one of these narrative questions, look back at the review criteria and see if there's something that you might not be hitting on that the panelists are going to be looking for. Any questions about that? All right. So now we're going to go into support material and work samples uploads. So support materials are documents that strengthen the application and provide additional information that directly relates to your grant request. Support materials won't necessarily take the place of work samples. They're kind of different in the fact that you're, again, really using those as backup support for, like we said, claims that you may have made about your organization. So you can upload up to 3 internally produced items, and that can be curricula, strategic plans, marketing materials, or externally produced support materials. So reviews, letter of recommendations, testimonials. We also have a further list in the request for applications on support materials if you want more recommendations. But really, it's up to you of what you think would be a bonus to your application to provide for the panelists to maybe understand different points of the review criteria to support your application. And then the work samples, these carry the most weight because they will be the clearest depiction of your arts and humanities work. Um, all applicants are required to upload work samples. We do try to ask that work samples aren't more older than 3 years, but if you are uploading something older than 3 years, just try and provide a reason behind why you may be doing that. Maybe your organization was inactive for 6 years and you're coming back now, um, something like that. But we do try to ask for them to be some of your most recent work. Again, you can look at the request for applications for further examples of work samples to include, but these can be like videos or pictures from your arts and humanities program that you listed on your application. Trying to think of other ones that people usually do. Um, Maybe a marketing document for one of the programs as well that you're planning to do for the grant period. We also ask that you upload resumes of key personnel, and this is really going to give panelists a good understanding of who's doing the work in your organization. Try and make sure that these resumes reflect that they have expertise in the work that you are um, providing in your application. Try and give panelists a good understanding of their background. And if they are DC based, have that in the resume as well. So we do ask our panelists to stay within the four corners of the application, and that just means that we don't ask them to click on external links or go and do research on their own while they're reviewing your application. So just keep that in mind. Um, Try not to have your work samples just be all links. Some people might upload like a PDF with a bunch of links to different websites. The panelists might not click on that. Um, Try and just upload what material you have. You can provide a link to your website. They aren't required to look at it. They might look at it if they have extra time, but don't depend on that to be your main work sample. If you do have anything online that you want to include, try and take a screenshot of it and upload that as a work sample. Some tips for work samples and support materials. Um, Review panelists are required to review each applicant's work samples. However, if you upload more than the recommended amount for your work samples and support materials, they may stop at what our requirement is. So I forgot to go over that. For written content, we ask for no more than 15 pages. For videos, we ask for no more than 3 5-minute videos, and the same for audio. If you have audio clips, we ask for no more than 3 5-minute audio clips. So if you upload an audio clip that's 30 minutes long, they might only listen to the first 10 minutes. So just keep that in
Mhm.
mind. Make sure you clearly name and label and describe your work samples so that panelists can clearly identify which one they should be looking at in your application. And for project-based grants, include samples of similar projects completed to illustrate an ability to execute the proposed project. So we do ask for one arts and humanities project. If you want to use that as your work sample, um, try to upload more recent pictures and videos or information about that project. Um, Before you submit your application, and if you are uploading videos or audio, make sure that you can play it on your end. If it's not playing on your end, it probably won't play on our end either. Um, if you do experience a technical difficulty and you don't know why, please just reach out to us and we can try and figure that out together. Again, select recent and high quality samples. Adding more than recommended number of samples to application may often weaken it as well, because the panelists may feel like overloaded with information if you try and provide too much. Try and carefully choose your work samples. And panelists must be able to assess the skill level of the artists involved in your project. In Submittable, you will only be able to upload PDFs. There's multiple different ways to change documents into PDFs, but just know you're not going to be able to upload like a Microsoft Word document. It can only be a PDF. For videos, one new thing about submittable, we used to be able to just like put a link to a YouTube video and it would like embed the YouTube video. Submittable doesn't do that. So if you have a YouTube video that you want to upload to your application, it'll have to be downloaded in on your computer to be uploaded. So there's other ways to do that. I recently did one where I just like looked up an MP4 transfer and you can like copy the link for it to be a direct download to your computer. I think the same thing for audio. It's going to have to be something directly uploaded from your computer. One thing to note about audio as well, I'm not sure if the new system lets you just choose different uh, areas to play for the audio. So if it's longer than 5 minutes, try and provide information about where they should start and where they should stop for the audio. Kind of just went over that. Yeah. Again, if you do have something from a website and you to avoid doing links, try and take a screenshot of that. There's multiple different shortcuts on computers. I know on Mac, there's just a button that you can press to take a screenshot. There's the clipping tool as well. But if you have questions about how you can do a screenshot, reach out to me and I can try and help. Any questions about the work samples and support materials? All right. Oh, oops. So now we're going to go into some other required documents that you need to upload. So you're going to upload a balance sheet, current organizational budget. Everybody's fiscal year is different. Just upload one from your most recently completed year. Profit and loss statement, a certificate of clean hands, certificate of liability insurance. One thing to note about that, if you don't already have liability insurance, don't go out and buy it. You can upload a quote for liability insurance, just to make sure you're not spending money on something you may not end up using. You'll upload a 990 or your 990 postcard, a list of your current board of directors, resumes of key personnel, your letter of determination, and we'll go over each of these and how to fill those out. So for your current list, or your list of your board of directors, try not to just provide screenshots of like their headshot and their name. Try and put what they do, what their responsibilities are, and if they're located in DC, put that and put what ward they're in. The same thing for your resume of key personnel. So try and make sure that their resume is related to the work that you're putting in your application, provide their roles, areas of responsibilities, and just note that the panelists must be able to assess the skill level of the artists or administrators involved in your work. So for your IRS letter of determination, oh, sorry, actually you'll just upload that. So you should have it. We'll be able to look at the year that it was issued. Just make sure that if it isn't 1 year yet, that 1 year is going to occur next year. You'll upload your 990 or your 990 postcard. If you're uploading 990 postcard, again, you'll do bank statements from your most recently completed fiscal year. We'll go over how to fill out the W-9, but we do ask for that, and that's just a way for us to verify your organization's address and EIN number. You can download the W-9 from our website, and I think that there's also a link to it in the application. Also, you'll do your certificate of clean hands, and we'll go into how to obtain a clean hands if you don't have one already, and also we'll talk about how to validate a clean hands. One thing to note about the clean hands, again, just make sure that the address and your EIN matches across all documents. Changing your address on a clean hands is a little bit more complicated because you have to go through the tax office to do that. So if currently your clean hands address doesn't match what's on the rest of your documents, please reach out to the tax office to update that. You'll also do a statement of certification that is embedded in the application. And again, just going over your financial documents. Um, so these documents really provide additional context to the panelists. Your IRS Form 990 is going to give them a look into your most recently completed fiscal year. Your current organizational budget is going to give them an understanding of how you're operating now. And then for your projects and program section, we do just ask for the cost of that, and that's going to give them an idea of like what your projected costs are. So to fill out the W-9, please make sure that it's the 2024 version. Some people might have a 2018 version. We can't accept that. It has to be the most recent version.
No, when's the doctor appointment?
And then make sure that your organization's name matches what's on your certificate of clean hands, also on the W-9. You'll do a checkbox in section 3, just indicating that you're a 501c3. Make sure that your address on your W-9 matches on your clean hands as well, but you'll put that on here. Also make sure it's not a PO box because we can't accept that. You also put your organization's EIN. And then we do ask for this to be a handwritten signature. So some signature platforms allow you to do like a typed font. We can't accept that. We've gotten kind of good at identifying what the type fonts are. Some of them are a little bit new and tricky with AI, but try and make sure that it's handwritten. You can do that on like your mouse pad, or if you want to print it out and scan it, or if you don't have access, reach out to me and let me know because we have Adobe signature that I can send. And it'll be saved as a PDF, but you can find this W-9 on our website. And again, I think it's in the application. For the certificate of liability insurance, if you already have it, you're going to reach out to your insurance provider and ask them for an Accord certificate of liability insurance form. They'll know what that is and they'll be able to fill it out for you. But the things that you should ask for them to make sure is on there is that this description of operations box has this language in it that the government of DC and its officers, employees, agents, and volunteers are named as additional insured. And then the certificate holder should be us. So you'll put DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities and our address on there. Again, if you don't have liability insurance already, that's okay. You can just upload a quote for liability insurance. If you already have a certificate of clean hands, you're going to go to, in order to validate it and have a more recent date on it, you're going to go to mytax.dc.gov, and you'll be able to download a PDF of your certificate. Trying to see if it, oh. Yeah, so in order to validate your certificate, and that really just means to make sure that it's compliant and has the most updated information on it, on that web page, you'll scroll down to where it has this image of the woman next to the open sign, and then there's a hyperlink that says validate certificate. You'll click in that. All you have to do is put the notice number that is in the top right-hand corner of your clean hands, and then the last 4 digits of your EIN. And you'll be able to download it from there. In order to, oh, I thought I had information on how to get a certificate of clean hands. Okay, well, if you don't have your certificate of clean hands now, I would reach out to the tax office to get that set up and they'll be able to help you. I would recommend calling them rather than emailing because they kind of take forever to respond to emails.
Mm-hmm.
So for the statement of certification, this is a really easy form to fill out. This is really just to make sure that we have the contact information of the person that's going to be managing your grant. Um, so you'll fill out your organization's name, check that it's a nonprofit, put your organization's address, the grant program, so whichever one you're applying for this one will be GOS. And then also in section one, you're going to put the name of the individual who will be managing your grant. So you'll just put your name and your address and your contact information. And then you'll sign it. You can use a typed signature for this one. Um, and then fill out the rest of the information on the last page as well. You'll upload that as a PDF with your application. Just some tips on the required documents. You will fill out a new statement of certification for each program you're applying for. So if you plan to apply for any of the applications that open later in the summer, you will need to fill out a new one for each of them. Um, Try and remember to have a written signature on your documents instead of a typed signature. You can use DocuSign or Adobe, I think Canva as well. And I know that MacBooks have like the PDF preview where you can like insert a signature. But again, if you don't have access to those things, please just let me know and I can send you an Adobe signature request. Certificate of insurance. If you are confused on how to do that, please just reach out to me. But if you already have insurance, your insurance provider should know how to fill out the form and send it to you. Um, your clean hands. Please make sure that it has the most updated information on it. If you are awarded, we do check it multiple times. And again, you will need to upload most documents as PDFs. There's multiple different ways to do that. If you don't have access to that, please reach out to me, and I can help you with that. But you can even download an app on your phone to scan physical documents and turn it into PDFs. And then there's some also other free online tools. Any questions about everything now? We've gone over everything. If you have any questions, feel free to come off of mute.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. When is the deadline for submission of this project?
Yeah, sorry, I lost myself. Yes, it is May 5th at 5 p.m.
At 5 p.m. So another question. What if you're not affiliated with any 501(c) and you're doing it independently, but you have a EIN business account,
So, if you want to apply for an individual grant,
right?
we have multiple options. So we have our fellowship grant that opens later in the summer. We also have a projects, events, and festivals grant for individuals, and
Okay.
that will be opening in a week or two, I believe.
Okay.
If you want to give me your email, I'll make sure that you're on our emailing list to be notified about
Okay.
when the grants open.
Yeah,
But yeah,
please.
this grant is just for organizations.
Okay. Could you
Yeah.
take my email address down if you don't mind?
Yeah, let me get a pen really quick. All right, you can go ahead.
Adrian, ADRIANDEAN 127 at gmail.com.
Got it. Thank
Okay.
you.
And another question. I'm actually becoming a artist, opening up a gallery under someone
Mm-hmm.
else uh 501c. So
Okay.
so I wanted to know if I could go under their banner, right? Under their banner of submitting my paperwork for
Yeah, so you'd have to have 501(c)(3) status for at least 1 year for your organization.
okay.
Um, but do you mean sorry, could you repeat the question?
I want to know, like, I'm going under Jubilee Jobs, right? But
Okay.
we have an account. I mean, we opening up a new building, right? New building because Jubilee Jobs and housing has been around forever, right? But
Yeah.
I'm recently opened up a gallery under there, so but I'm
Okay.
trying to facilitate a grant under them, right? Under their banner. It's my art, but I'm trying to facilitate a grant under them, under there.
That's a good question. I would suggest just applying for an individual grant for that.
Okay.
Just because I know for general operating support, we ask that the organization be arts and humanities based. So if you tie
Yeah.
yourself to that, it might not be eligible. But for now, I would encourage you to apply for an individual grant for your gallery opening, and your
Okay.
gallery work. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
that'd be
Great.
the easier route to go.
Okay. Great. 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 So, just give me just a little, just a brief information, right? Because I don't know if this is an important question for others to know. Um, the grant that you was just talking about submitting, right? Is this grant is specifically for? Just explain what it's specifically for.
Yeah, it's specifically for arts and humanities, and arts education organizations looking for operating support. So it's not project based. It's to get funds to help with your operating costs of your organization.
Oh, okay,
Mm.
Yeah.
okay. So I'm definitely gonna need that because yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm,
and for the individual grant, like for projects, events, and festivals for individuals, you can also apply for operating costs that way. For our
Yeah.
fellowship program, we don't require you to have a project, but you can use the money for that.
okay, great,
Yeah.
Okay.
great, great, great.
That would be
Okay,
awesome.
okay. So thank you. I appreciate that you have
Yeah.
message, but please get that information to me.
Yeah.
Email me and try to keep me updated on that because really I could use the operating calls right for
Yeah.
a lot of events that I'm doing because I'm like DC actually also commissions other people artists and I'm a native
Hmm.
Washington. They commission other people art to put in off and build the new developments that are coming up. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'll reach out to you with the information on the other individual grant opportunities and make sure
great.
you're on the mailing list to know when those open as well.
Okay, great, great. That's fantastic. So thank you. What's your name, Kayla?
Yes, Kayla.
Okay, that's my daughter's name, so I can't forget that. So, okay, thank you for your information.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Okay.
Uh,
Kayla,
yeah.
I'm Joy Austin, and I had a question about the budget
Yeah.
requirements and the. I think you said at one point that the CAH amount and the amount for from the institution was 50%. I just didn't think I caught that right.
Yeah. So, the
Yeah.
requirement for your previous year cash expenses would be that it needs to be 51% of that spent on arts and humanities and arts education programming. And again, we would look at your 990 for that, but if you're submitting a 990 postcard, you can submit bank statements to provide that information. And yeah, so that's the requirement for that. And then we also ask for your current budget and a budget narrative as well, so you can provide further information on that as well in the application.
Okay, and then just thank you. That's very helpful. In
Mhm.
fact, this whole program that you've just done is extremely helpful. And my other question was because you seem to slide in a little bit on programming expenses that might be applicable in terms of operations.
Mhm.
So, like, we do a lot of video at our the organization that I work for, which is IPPH. And I was just wondering about how that translates into operations when a
Yeah.
lot of it, we do events. And
Yeah.
we do events around the city, and but we also significant video and multimedia kinds of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, I would suggest adding that in your budget narrative. So that's kind of just like a deeper dive, like a paragraph or two about how you spend your funds if you're not mostly program based. You have the opportunity to explain that, and then again, you'll upload that current organization budget, so then we'll be able to see what your operating costs are going towards. For capacity building, keep in mind as well that it's a little bit different from the other two GOS categories in that we typically do flat funding. I don't know what's going to happen in October, how they're going to do it. But that means that for the other two categories, we tried to um, give them an award that's almost equal to the amount of their operating budget. So then we would look a little bit deeper into what your operating costs are. But for capacity building, um, don't stress too much about that area, but just try and provide those documents and that budget narrative explaining that.
Okay, and that flat funding fluctuates from time to time.
Yeah, so I think the first year we did the capacity building program, it was 13,500 for everyone. This previous year we were able to do 15,000 for those awarded. But we won't find out exactly what that's going to look like until October because we have to find out our budget and present funding recommendations to the commissioners, and they ultimately make that decision. But for the past 2 years, it has been that everybody gets the same amount for capacity building.
And that's with regard to how many people, how many capacity building grants you receive. You divide
Yeah, how many we award?
how
Yeah.
many you award.
Yeah.
Indeed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
Yeah.
15,000 has been a range. The range is about
Yeah.
2,000. Okay.
Yeah, and
Interesting.
if you have further questions on that too, I'm happy to give more detail on it. But yeah, we won't find out exactly what that's going to be until later on. Um, but yeah, just something to keep in mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very
Yes,
helpful.
of course. Any other questions? I'm trying to look back in the chat too. I'm gonna put my email in the chat as well. Um, if anybody has any questions as they're filling out the application or has like a more specific question about your organization, feel free to reach out to me. And I'll also put Carrie's email as well because Carrie helps with GOS, and you can include both of us on the email if you'd like. But if there aren't any other questions, oh, just kidding. Dana, I see your hand.
Hi,
Go
I
ahead.
guess I got in just in time.
Yeah.
And just a quick basic question because unfortunately I joined late. Uh, as this relates to this application relates to submissible, I have to go somewhere else though to get the application for this. That's a question.
Yeah, so our link to submittables on our website, and I can put that in the chat. Let me just find it. So we do have like a specific submittable page that like
Oh,
lists out our application. So I'm gonna
oh,
send that in the chat if I can find it. Okay, I found it. And this will list each of the ones that are open and the guidelines for those.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, just kidding. Carrie also sent it. Yeah, well, if there aren't any other questions, well, after the orders runs various programming across different fields. So we ask that your mission statement include an arts and humanities discipline. The disciplines are listed in the request for applications, which I'll also include that link in here. Um, and the way that we verify that is either through your 990 because you list usually what your organization's mission is. You'll also be able to list the mission in your application. So if your mission statement doesn't have to do with arts and humanities, but you mostly do arts and humanities work, that's understandable as well. please reach out to me for like a specific instance on that. Um, but I guess I'd be curious to know what other programming, how much of your cash expenses are going to other programming? Because we do ask that 51% of your expenses are going towards arts and humanities programming.
I had a general question. If
Hmm.
I have a focus group, right? I have a focus group that's based around arts and
Hmm.
humanity, right? Where I'll be doing art recovery. It's for our recovery program.
Hmm.
So, and most of the expenses that I have will be towards the arts, right? Because I'll be asking the instructor for teaching people how to do art and
Yeah.
understanding art, right? So, but this is my first time doing this.
Hmm.
So this will be my first time doing this. So, what is your basic uh advice for this being my first time starting, doing this art, it's been a
Yeah. Yeah, I would say look over that request for applications. I sent the link to it. And
okay,
just make sure you meet those eligibility requirements. So again, you would have to be a 501(c)(3) nonprofit for at least 1 year,
okay,
and be able to provide information on your cash expenses and your activities. So if you haven't started it yet, or if you're not a 501(c)(3) yet, again, I would recommend applying to an individual grant,
uh-huh.
and being able to support yourself and maybe get a 501(c)(3) status during this next year.
Well, the people that I'm falling under, they've been in business for well over 30 years,
Okay.
and it'll actually be in one of their buildings, so they already established as a 501(c).
Okay, yeah, but you'd have to reach out to them and make sure that you can apply, like do the application on their behalf, basically, because you'd be applying for their organization.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, but if you do programming out of their facilities, again, I think that the individual grant would probably be a better fit.
okay, okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, for myself.
Yeah, but you can, of course, list on your application that those are the people you partner with.
Okay,
Um, and yeah, I can send you more information again on those individual grants and those requirements.
yeah, please do, and
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Um,
So thank you
I-
for your information.
Yes.
yeah. And I just want to hop in here and reiterate what Kayla is saying. This is the start of our grants cycle. We have put out the general operating support grants. But next week we are anticipating putting out two more grants, the projects, events, and festivals, and the eStarts grant, and then we will have more grants later in the year. And yeah, I know it's the first one, and it's always exciting to get started, but we do recommend for a lot of organizations that are looking to apply here, really take a look at what you have to apply with. Because it may be that the projects, events, and festivals grant or another grant is just a better fit, and we're
Okay,
happy to work with you on that. There is going to be an overlap time where this grant is open and projects, events, and festivals will be open. We also have live chats on Fridays where there will be multiple grant managers. But it
okay,
really may be a case of, for a couple folks, we've had some inquiries where it's very clear that it might be a better fit over in the PEF side. So let's
okay,
shuffle you over there to talk to one of our colleagues.
Yeah.
okay. Great. Do y'all have anything? I mean, is this also attached to like they do art? I mean, art all night?
We are not part of the Art All Night team. That's out of a different agency.
Okay,
I think that's DSLBD that handles Art All Night.
okay.
We are friends with them, but we do not manage Art All Night.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Oh, thank you. Good
Yeah.
information.
Any other questions? And again, feel free to attend one of our live chats too. There'll be two more this Friday and next Friday. If you just have questions about the other grant programs, there'll be other grant managers there who manage the other grant lines. If you have specific questions about them, um, they should be able to be there and answer those as well.
Well, I look to get started, so I'll start my paperwork as soon as possible.
Yes.
Great.
All right, well, if there's no other questions, thank you so much for attending today. Feel free to reach out if you have questions along the way. Thank you.